Noticing is the most important piece of this model because we can't navigate what we don't notice. And noticing requires us to tune in to our bodies on a regular basis. The body knows before the brain does.
Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Welcome to the show, friend. My new best friend, Jennifer, is with us. And this is a treat because we are going to talk about stress and how it affects our bodies and how we can get more energy. Now, both of those sound amazing to me. Less stress, more energy. That would be the most perfect life every day. So how could we do that? And Jennifer's going to help us. But before we jump into this, we're going to get a quick word from our sponsor. And when we come back, Jennifer's going to help me have more energy, and you too. We'll be right back. Hey, since I rarely have openings in my coaching schedule, I have a new resource out there on my website. It is called the BFF Coaching Network. And I have offered a spot there for any coach that has been on the show to list their coaching. You can go out there, you can listen to their episodes, you can feel a little bit about them, and then choose a coach that will work for you. So LaraJaneLayton.com, the BFF Coaching Network. All right, Jennifer, the information about you is in the show notes. So let's get started. To me, the thought of having no stress and more energy or even less stress is just like, right. So prove it to me that I could actually do this.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, you can actually do this. And any one of your listeners can actually do this. My clients tell me that once they learn the skill, that this is really not that hard. The hardest part is remembering to use it. And so building the habit. Somatic awareness. Soma is the Greek word for body. So essentially, it's body awareness. If you've ever had a hunch, an inkling, a gut feeling, that's awareness. So my 3N model that I teach people: notice, name, navigate. Noticing is the most important piece of this model because we can't navigate what we don't notice. And noticing requires us to tune in to our bodies on a regular basis. The body knows before the brain does. And if we can notice those sensations, be aware of them, then we can choose our response versus being flooded with stress hormones and going into a survival, fight, flight, freeze. That uses up a lot of our energy. That's meant for unsafe conditions, not uncomfortable. But a lot of times we are responding to uncomfortable situations as if they are unsafe. Another way to look at that is it a snake or is it a stick? If you've ever been out hiking and you've encountered something that you're not quite sure, is that a snake or a stick? You're going to respond different, right? And one of
Oh,
those responses is going to be more, take more energy than the other. So
oh
this,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So this is where we can begin to recover our energy. And when we do that, we increase our capacity. And when we have enough capacity, we have access to our clarity, to our confidence and connection with other people because we co-regulate. What I mean by that is emotions are contagious. So the more stressed you are, the more stressed the people that you're around are going to be, unless they have this skill that they know how to regulate themselves.
Well, then I need this gift.
Yes, you do. Yeah, a lot of people do. It's a wonderful thing. So the key is noticing. And the first piece of homework that I give most people is just practice that part. Just and build it into daily habits. When you brush your teeth, when you wash your hands, whatever it is, so that you're honing the skill and you have it for those moments where you really need to deploy it. And that just requires tuning in and noticing what's happening inside your body. Is your heart beating faster? Are you short of breath? Is there tension in your shoulders? Or we want to notice the good stuff too. When we're regulated, we're going to be relaxed. We're going to feel safe enough. And that's when we are within our window of tolerance. That's where we want to be. Now, when we get triggered, that's where we swing over into survival. And that becomes counterproductive when the situation is just uncomfortable. Another way to understand this is by using it. There's something called the hand model. I didn't come up with this, but I just kind of added my own lingo around it to help make it more understandable. But so if you take your hand like this and make a fist, and it kind of looks like a brain, right?
Does it matter where your thumb is, whether it's inside or on the outside, or you just
I'm glad
missed?
I'm glad that you asked that because it does for the way that I talk about it, that it does. So the thumb on the outside represents the amygdala. So when we are under the influence of the amygdala, we flip our lid. In other words, we go into survival response.
Okay.
We are under the influence of the amygdala. And the amygdala, I mean, it's focused on just keeping us alive. And it takes a while to come out from under that, just like any other something that we might be under the influence. But that takes a toll on our energy. But it doesn't have to if we can notice in time and then name it. And that just means understanding that, oh, okay, I'm experiencing anxiety, fear, whatever it is, because naming gives meaning to the experience, but then navigating it. And navigating it is calming the nervous system in the moment. So there are several techniques to do this. I like to teach very simple, subtle techniques that can be done anytime, anywhere in the boardroom, at the grocery store, at home, behind the wheel, wherever it is. You can do this. And so, for example, one of them is simply asking, is this unsafe or just uncomfortable? That can calm the nervous system down. I had a client that was giving a speech and she noticed that she was getting tense. And she asked herself, is this unsafe or just uncomfortable? That was enough to calm her down and deliver her presentation with confidence. And the more we do this, the more we know that we can. And when we build our window of tolerance so we don't get triggered as easily. So that's where we continue to conserve our energy and grow our capacity and have less stress. So one of the techniques is it unsafe or just uncomfortable? Another is known as seeing and sensing. And this is where you can use your eyes to scan the environment that you're in. Let your eyes just naturally land on something pleasing. That can calm the nervous system too. Some people might keep a picture of a furry friend on their desk, or a loved one. Maybe they have a favorite painting in their office. Whatever it is, that is a technique. I also use this on the road where I might pick up a certain color. The first color that grabs my attention. And so then I'm just looking for it. Say it's red. Okay. What are all the red things that I can see? Shape works for this too. Okay. So that's in the shape of a square. What other things are in the shape of a square? Basically, what this does is it brings us back to the present where we are at our calmest. And that we can activate our vagus nerve too very easily by taking two fingers, putting them behind your ear, just going down an inch or two and gently massaging. That activates the vagus nerve. And you can just casually do this at your desk.
Does that matter what ear it is?
Nope. You can do both of them if you want.
And what does a vagus nerve stimulation help me with?
Yeah. So the vagus nerve, that's going to help calm your nervous system because the vagus nerve is what runs between the body and the brain. That's the the system that never sleeps. And vagus is the Latin word for wandering. It gets that name because the vagus nerve starts at the base of the neck and then it goes all the way down into the gut, hence gut feeling, and wanders around in all the different organs. So that's why we can get, the physical sensations. Like I said, the gut feeling. Some people feel heat. Some people feel tingling. Some, in the neck a lot of times, if it's right in here, well, then that's a sign that somebody's not using their voice. And they need to. That's causing them undue stress by stuffing it inside because emotions, they have a beginning, they have a middle, they have an end. And a lot of us haven't been taught how to process that. Emotions are energy emotion. So they get stuck in the middle, not
Yeah.
being processed.
And sometimes we experience them and we kind of like John to them. Like, oh, what is this? What is this?
Yes, and that's the last we want to look at it with this is a big deal. We want to look at it through the lens of passion and curiosity. Because when we look at it through judgment and wanting to push it away, trying to fix ourselves, I wish I didn't have this, then what happens is we're essentially fighting it. We're giving it energy. So it's going to grow stronger. Now, we do have the option then to meet it again with compassion and curiosity by getting curious and even thanking it because it's there trying to protect us. But, what might this be trying to protect me from? And, thank you for doing that. But this is where it gets into orienting. This is now, that was then. What got me here isn't going to get me there. And the more resourced we feel, the safer we feel. It's all about helping the body feel safe. So, in terms of resources, we, just being aware of, okay, I've got life experience behind me. I've got a lot of resources that maybe I didn't have in my youth or, even as a child, we didn't, don't have the agency that we have as an adult. So a lot of these things, they're accumulation of what I call small T trauma. When we've been overwhelmed through life and it hasn't been processed, but we can unlearn these things. We can unlearn the behaviors that are no longer serving us by noticing, naming, and navigating. When we build that window of tolerance, we're unlearning behaviors that are no longer serving us. And we're learning new things because we're creating the capacity for new stuff.
So in the notice process, I'm
Mhm.
just pretty much paying attention to my body and where it's sitting and how it's affecting it. Maybe it's a tingle, maybe it's a heat, maybe it's a numb, maybe.
Yeah.
So now I've noticed my hands feel hot. Let's just pretend like, so I don't quite understand the naming part. Am I naming it? I'm feeling anxious. Is that what it is? Is what is the feeling? Or am I calling it, I'm going to call this Fred.
You can call it grit if you want. It's all about what the name means associated with it. But they really, in the moment, you're wanting to focus more on the noticing and navigating. The naming is something that you can work on, growing your emotional vocabulary and to help you just like know what's happening in the moment and being able to navigate it. And that's, it's generally some flavor of fear. So
Okay.
when we go into naming, we go back up into the head. But in the moment, we want to stay in the body to process so that we can get calmed down and then come from our prefrontal cortex, which is where our clear thinking is, where we can be constructive with other people and regulated versus dysregulated. And because when you get two dysregulated people together, that doesn't go well. I had a client once that I worked with. She was aware enough that when a colleague came into her office, very, very angry, she was able to request that they meet at another date. They did that. So they came together with regulated nervous systems. So then they
Oh,
had
smart.
access, yes, to their curiosity, the creativity. They came up with a solution that they hadn't even been considering before, and that's when the word.
You know what? I mean, even if it's just one thing I get out of this, if I can just think through that process when, whether someone's really depressed or really angry or really frustrated, just saying, oh, I'm in the middle of something right now. Can we meet in about 30 minutes? Or
Yeah,
I got a window here. And that's so easy at the office. Like, got something that's got a due time and it's today. Can we meet tomorrow? How much more clarity am I going to have tomorrow when I navigate and just kind of like let it sit in whether it's me that's being frustrated or another person? You know, it could be someone's coming in completely nice and I'm the bitch and just saying, I got to get something done. Can we meet tomorrow? Give yourself that permission to self regulate and then have the conversation.
definitely.
So
Definitely.
that's great on both sides.
Well, and I can tell you about another client. This just happened today that I was so proud of her. She got an email that triggered her. We've been working together long enough that she knew that it triggered her, and she knew that if she typed a response back, it wasn't going to become a regulated self. So she sent it to me as an example. So she gave herself some space.
Yeah.
So now she can respond from a regulated place and
I like
save
that.
the organization. I mean, you just think about it. It saves the relationship, it saves the organization. It's, it helps with productivity, performance, teamwork, trust. It touches everything, really. Our nervous system, we take it everywhere. It touches everything.
And when we're frustrated, we don't think as clearly. And,
Exactly.
that energy passes. Like you said, it's that energy kind of like absorbs. And it's like, how do I deal with this? And now you're getting in this who can be the meanest, who can say the most mean things, who can show that they're the most perfect and you're not. You get into this competition. And it's like, who cares?
Yeah, and that's where like I think of it on a spectrum because that's when we get stuck in judgment.
Yep.
And judgment and curiosity and safety don't occupy the same space. So we can't be curious until we feel safe enough. So that's where we have to get ourselves out of that space of judgment. It's judgment too. It's fighting what is, which is going to make it grow stronger. So we can get to. We don't have to like it, but if we can accept it, and then just keep moving towards, you know, more curiosity, more safety, we can deal with it more constructively and if we're judging it and if we're fighting it.
Okay, so all this sounds great, but I do know some people that I don't care how many days I give them. I think their purpose in life is to make other people frustrated.
Mhm.
How do we
Yeah.
deal with those? Just
Well,
leave them alone? Like, sorry, you go get a new job.
yeah, that is very, very difficult. So I'll share with you some things that I have learned from my own experience in that area. And I've just learned that really being able to look to see if there's a sense of curiosity at all, within the person. And that's helpful because if there's curiosity, then there is a willingness and openness to work together. Now, we're all on our own journeys, and sometimes people are just not at that place, that point of curiosity, that openness, that willingness to change. And the more regulated we are and the more compassionate we are with ourselves, the more compassionate we can be with that other person. That doesn't mean we have to, be with them all day, but we can be present with a regulated nervous system. Most of the time, what people need is they just need to be seen, heard, and believed, validated. And if we can do those things, then we help everybody move along that continuum towards safety. But being able, aware enough to know that when your nervous system it is at a max and you need to, like the client that I talked about and requested meeting at another time.
Yeah. And if the person's never going to settle down, you just get yourself regulated first. And
Yes. And here's the thing too to understand about regulation is that the most regulated person in the room has the most control, but that is also the hardest role to have because essentially it's standing in the fire. And it doesn't take much discipline to, you know, flip a lid, right? Um, but people will eventually gravitate towards the person that is the calmest, that is most grounded, because people have a need to feel safe.
that
Another
makes
little
sense.
thing too, that just popped into my mind, a proactive thing that folks can do, like if they're going into a boardroom or an office where the situation could be uncomfortable, that they're feeling anxious about it, they can proactively help their body feel safe by once they get in that room, just taking note of where the door is, where the windows are, because that reassures the body that if something, comes up that is truly unsafe, it knows the way out. And
I
when
know
we
people
feel,
that do that everywhere they go. It's
yeah,
I know where the exit is now. I know where both the exits are. I could go through
yes,
the restaurant, you can go through the kitchen. So there's a lot of
yeah.
ways out. So yeah, there are people that's very important to them. So
Well, my
yeah, it
daughter
makes
is
sense.
Gen Z, and she talks about that because of school experience, and that's what her class was taught to do, to be always aware of the exit. But it's relevant to this too.
Yes, I always need an exit plan, and sometimes it could just be in your house, you know? I'm starting to feel frustrated. I'm putting myself on timeout. It's just having when you feel safe, you can do that. I need some
Yeah,
time out. I'm going to take step away. But if
yeah,
you don't feel safe, you might run, but you're not really getting a timeout. You're fleeing, you're frustrated, you're
mhm.
protecting, but you don't get that calm.
No, and that calm is what restores our energy when we fight or flee or freeze, it consumes our energy. And some people, and I can speak for myself here too, I didn't know how frozen I was.
You
And
don't, because you're normal. I'm working, I'm functioning just fine. But as
I
you
was functioning at a, a high functioning freeze until I started to thaw. And I'm like, oh, this is much better. I'm much calmer. And look, things are happening. Life, I have much more energy and joy and ease in my life. And fear, I mean, yes, we need to have fear, but it doesn't consume my life. I have a lot more peace than I do fear.
and I don't know what other people feel, but I know, when I start really trying to dial down on emotion, it
Mm.
seems like the root of all of them, it ends up being some kind of fear. I'm depressed because I'm afraid I'm never breaking free from yesterday. I'm stressed because I fear tomorrow. That all seems to come down to something in the fear factor.
That's why I really love FDR's quote about we have nothing but fear to fear. I mean, I think he was spot on when he said that.
That's true. The nothing but fear to fear. I don't think
Yeah,
I've seen or read that quote before.
yeah,
Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
yeah, yeah. It's a good one.
So let's kind of like break this down. I've noticed it. I've navigated it. I now am in the situation, and things are starting to heat again. Somewhere we thought we were in a calmed down state,
Mhm.
but things are starting to escalate. Do I look down and go, "Oh, I gotta go," or how do I mean? That's kind of a flight, but
Mhm.
is it a good one?
Well, and that's yeah. Um, you want to be aware of are you moving towards something or are you moving away from something? I write about this in my book that to be activated, that can be a healthy thing, like someone running a race and they do the start the race and they're motivated to run. Okay, that's different than running from a tiger.
Way different.
Yeah,
One's your life or death, and the other one's fun.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And so this is where it becomes so important to make it a consistent practice of noticing, naming, and navigating, throughout your day so that when you are in that meeting that is starting to get heated, then you can pull out one of your tools, staying and sensing, or is it unsafe or just uncomfortable? You practice this so that you have it before you need it.
Oh, yeah. Practice it on the littlest things. You know, it's like you don't go to the gym and start lifting 150 pounds,
Right.
but something's going to hit you one day and you're going to need to. So start with the 2-pound weights. And as you get comfortable with that, move on up. And it's the same with all of the things we do in life is I plan out responses to things that I have boundaries around because it's not you that needs to honor my boundaries. It's me. And
Yeah.
so when somebody does this thing that I don't want to participate in, what am I going to respond? And if I wait till the moment, I don't know. And so I love that, practice on the little things.
I don't know. Micro moments.
Anything. It's like, I am safe.
Yes. Yes. This is It's unsafe or just uncomfortable. It's just uncomfortable. I can do the uncomfortable. I've done the uncomfortable before. That's another part of orienting and pendulating when we're in the moment and that moment of self doubt. That's a good time to remember moments, pause and remember a time when you were very proud of yourself.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then, you can pendulate back and forth until that sensation begins to soften.
How beautiful. It does help to remember something that went well
Yeah,
when things aren't going as well, because it proves to yourself you can do this too. I've done this
exactly.
before. I can do hard things. I can make hard things look easy.
Yes. Yes. And that goes along with another quote. I believe it was by Henry Ford that whether we think we can or we can't, either way, we're right. So
Yeah.
this stuff really helps us be in the mindset of I can versus
Yeah. I love it.
yeah.
So as we work through all this, because we're stopping the stress sooner, it's not wearing us down. So now our energy is higher, which now that higher energy is going to give you more ability to stop even more stress sooner. And now the more stress sooner, the sooner stuff. Now you have more energy. Does the stress ever go all the way away?
Oh no.
Oh, darn it.
No, no. I mean, what would that be like? I mean, because some stress is good. Um, we just, yeah, we just learn to manage the, the stress that has taken more of a toll on us. Stress that, again, it's a stick, not a snake. But we've got to be aware we're just as wired to survive as we're wired for needing to feel safe and being able to regulate our nervous system. I think about it too as when we drive our car going down the road. We got to regulate our speed. We're always somewhere in between that window of tolerance. And we've got to be compassionate with ourselves too, because there are going to be times where we're going to be more on the edge of our window of tolerance. Say if we've been under the weather, we're sick, then it's not going to take much to us over. I noticed that once when I was really sick, and I'm like, why is my husband getting under my nerves more than usual? Well, it's because I was right on the window, edge of my window of tolerance, and so that's where at least I recognized it, and then I could take care of me so that I didn't overreact, didn't go into survival mode.
Yeah. How would that be to not ever overreact? I always find myself going, okay, I overreacted again. That was me, not you.
Yeah, well, we're human, and we're perfectly imperfect, so we're going to have those moments. But that's where we again just keep staying curious, practice, and being compassionate with ourselves. And the more compassionate we can be with ourselves, the more compassionate we can be with other people. And then we're going to co regulate better with others too.
Okay, we can do this.
We can do this.
I really appreciate it because always, I can learn to step back more and give myself that space to regulate and
Mhm.
more for my own personal gain than ever about somebody else, you know? Like, yeah, it's great to be safe, but I think it's my frustration when I need to learn to self regulate and to be able to say, am I safe? Is this just, am I just uncomfortable? You know? Yeah, I think a lot of times I haven't practiced enough how I'm going to respond to this brand new situation that I've never had before. And I feel stuck, not stuck, caught in a
Mhm.
situation I'm not prepared for. And
Yeah.
it definitely adds to that. Oh, it's new. now I have a new thing I can prepare for if it happens again.
Yep. The best way to prepare is with a regulated nervous system.
Yeah, I like it. Jennifer,
And
this is
parenting, that's another huge area too. I worked with a mom once. She's like, I keep yelling at my toddler. And of course they're not responding to what I want them to do. And she said, then I realized I probably don't want to teach them that yelling is how you get stuff done. And really when you yell, then nobody can hear what you're saying anyway, because it sends them into survival mode. But we talked about this. And so she started practicing it, or she was noticing where she was getting heated. And instead of yelling at her child, she calmed her nervous system. Well, guess what? When mom has a calm nervous system, the child can have more of a calm nervous system too. It helped put them more on the same page and made things much easier for both.
I like it. Thank you.
It's power.
Jennifer, why don't you share with our friend a little bit about you, what you do, how to get a hold of you?
Yeah. So thank you, Laura Jane. So, the best way to get a hold of me is really on my website, which is www.somaticallyaware.com. Again, that's somaticallyaware.com. Can also, check out the book on Amazon. And the name of the book is Somatic Awareness Leading with Body Intelligence. Amazon, Somatic Awareness Leading with Body Intelligence. You can also find me on LinkedIn under Jennifer Zock.
I love it. Okay, now for the fun part. We've talked about 1,000 things. What's that? Because I don't have time to do all 1,000. What's that
Ooh.
one thing? What's the top thing on the list that I should practice this week?
Noticing.
Okay.
Yes. You're brushing your teeth, washing your whatever it is.
What is the
Notice.
sensations going through your body? Okay. Yeah,
Start with that.
because until you notice it, you can't do anything about it because you don't even know it.
That's right.
That's
right.
beautiful.
And it's a pretty quick turnaround we have mere seconds because of our wiring for survival, where unless we just stay like, well, wait a minute, this is uncomfortable, not unsafe, the body's going to flood. And then that's where we get, under the influence of the amygdala and we flip our lid and we've got bigger problems.
Yes, but they're going to get smaller and I'm going to have more energy.
Wow. That's right. By practicing the 3N model, notice, name, map.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Friends.
thank you.
Yes, Jennifer and I are not medical or mental licensed professionals. We're here for entertainment, people that have been on a journey and would love to see your journey be as smooth as possible. So thank you for joining and stay tuned for the next episode.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Laura Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss the next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.